have worked is that you've kind of given us, maybe 3 or 4 films, and we've looked and seen what's available.
Yeah.
This was one originally we were going to look at doing Christmas, then Gremlins kind of ended up trumping it for obvious reasons.
Yes, I did want to do this one, but it was bumped. But I'm excited that it's returned.
I'm really intrigued to ask a question to the audience.
Yes, we must. We always ask, who hasn't seen it? So I love it because no one has ever seen these films.
Now you know I don't like to crow.
Yeah,
I think
you said that.
we had a kind of a financial free wager, and I was going for about 80% haven't seen it. Reece was 60%, but I reckon that is near a 90+%.
What's exciting is, I mean, I think it's a surprise, I think, to people that it does exist. I mean, there's 4 of them, but from 1960, from the first one to this, 22, 23 years later, it's a strange thing. I mean, I'm getting to the mechanics of how it came about, but it's Psycho 2, and it's written like that, and it's in a time, 1974, you had Godfather Part 2, and it was not given in cinema that things had sequels. It's quite an unusual thing to even think about, the idea of something coming back. Why would you want it? And certainly in the case of Psycho, you could argue that it's completely... I'm going to ask the question, how many have seen Psycho?
How many have seen Psycho?
Oh, right, good. Most of them no.
I was going to say, there's one quite major Psycho spoiler that this is going to blow away anyway.
Of course, yeah. It's good that you do know a little bit about Psycho, but yeah. So 1983, 22 years later, they thought it'd be a good idea to do Psycho 2, and there'd been, in 1974 you had Godfather. Now I'm just looking at a few of the other ones. Jaws 2 in 1978. Rocky 2 in 1979. So suddenly it became a thing that you could do perfectly good second episodes of IP when they realised that was a currency in people's minds. And I think it didn't occur to a lot of studios that of the kind of currency of the things they had, and they didn't particularly want to do Psycho 2. And then they thought, well, Jason Voorhees has come back and Michael Myers has come back. Why don't we get the original monster himself, Norman Bates, to come back? And it was going to be a straight to cable film, and they presumed it was going to be a slasher film, quite badly written. And then Tom Holland wrote the script, not Spider-Man. And in 1981, Robert Bloch, who written Psycho, not Bob Bloch, who wrote Rent-A-Ghost. He wrote a sequel to Psycho 2, and it's a good book, and I think he tried to get it made, and they didn't like it. And weirdly, Psycho 2, the book, is really. Has anyone read that? That's really good, and it's got great. I'm not going to spoil the twist because you must all read it, but it's really good. It's like Scream. It's a very meta idea of Norman coming out of the asylum after 20 years of being deemed mad, and he's better now, and he leaves and he goes to Hollywood and he starts killing the cast of a film that are making the story of his life from Psycho. So it's really meta, it's great, but they didn't want that, so they made this instead, and this I think surprised everyone because suddenly Anthony Perkins read it, having been very reticent to do it because I think he thought that Norman had ruined his life, and it was good. It was a good script, and I think that Tom Holland trapped him into thinking it was good, even though it is a good script, because it's a character-driven thing. He's brilliant in this. I think he's better in this than he is in Psycho. It's such a devastatingly pathetic, sort of sympathetic portrayal of this man who has done these terrible things and he's trying to get his life back on track. And it's really good, and I think you really enjoy it.
And as you say, they hadn't, I think, expected that Anthony Perkins would come back.
Yeah.
They were already looking for other actors, and
that's right, yeah.
Started to think about who else to cast, and I think they were astonished when he came back.
Yeah, he wears the original jacket. I'll point that out to you. Osgood Perkins, his son, is in it as a little boy. He was grown up, but he played a little boy. He wasn't playing the young Anthony Perkins, which is weird and meta. Meg Tilly is in it, playing the sort of not romantic lead, but she's in it. And she didn't know Anthony Perkins at all. She was a young, new actress. And they really hated each other just to spoil that relationship. But they didn't get on. I think she had no respect for him because she thought, I don't know who this is. And he was Norman Bates in Psycho, in Hitchcock's Psycho.
I think she said that she hadn't seen the film. I think growing
Yeah.
up, she didn't have access to a TV and so forth, and therefore she had no idea who he was. And so I think he expected an element of kind of, at least a little bit of fawning, and that didn't happen.
It didn't happen. And the other interesting note about that part was apparently they asked Jamie Lee Curtis to play that part, which would be very interesting with having killed his mother in the first one and then back again with the daughter. But yeah, that didn't actually happen. But,
And the main, in terms of continuity, the main things there are Vera Miles is back.
Vera Miles is back playing Lila Loomis, sister of Marion Crane, who was Janet Leigh in the original. It was,
The house is back.
The house is back, yeah.
Original house.
Original house. A lot of the original furniture they found and utilised on a set that saw the interiors. There's a lot of nods to Psycho in it. I think, thankfully, Dean Cundy, the cinematographer, who was the cinematographer of Halloween, he does the cinematography on this, and there's a lot of nods to Psycho in it. There's a great bit where a suitcase falls down the stairs, and it's very much like Arbogast falling down the stairs after he's been stabbed in the first one. And there's a few nods like that in it to look for, but it's good because it's not slavishly trying, and it would have failed if had it even attempted to be Hitchcock in any sort of way. But imagine the terror of Tom Holland, young writer, thinking, I'm going to write a sequel to Psycho.
It's
Mad.
It's impossible to underestimate the power of Psycho original film, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you think in cinema terms, it's a bit like somebody in horror terms doing Citizen Kane 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a great Alfred Hitchcock. It's very influential.
Absolutely, yeah.
The way it's shot, the style, all that thing of sometimes less is more. Which we sort of see in later horror films. It's very.
I mean, less is not more in this. Well, that's what's great. I mean, it starts. It's colour. It's amazing. You see Norman Bates in colour. It's sort of a lot of things are quite startling about it.
Now you have a little treat for us, don't you?
Oh yes. Well, I was thinking about what I would say here today, and then I suddenly thought, well, I know the person that directed Psycho 4, Mick Garris, who I got to be friends with John Landis. So I asked him last night, really late, and he did it for me, to send us a little message about directing Norman Anthony Perkins in Psycho 4, and he's done a little message for us. So
Are we okay to play the little message? Which
have his recollection.
was done
Less me.
early hours this morning.
Yeah, he did.
Hi, I'm Mick Garris, and I want to thank my friend Reece for inviting me to join you at the BFI screening of Psycho 2. As Reece may have told you, I was the director of Psycho 4 at the beginning, and that was the last time Tony Perkins ever played Norman Bates. A great honor, but also a great challenge. You see, Tony had directed Psycho 3, and it was a total critical and financial disaster for the studio. So he wanted to direct Psycho 4, but the studio didn't want him to and wouldn't let him. So instead, they're offering up the director of only one feature film before that, the timeless classic Critters 2, The Main Course. So I was this new, young director that Tony had no confidence in and had to approve me. So our mutual friend John Landis took us to lunch together. We hit it off, everything went well. But once we were on the set, Tony was great, and it was an honor to work with him, obviously, and in his key role as Norman Bates, the role that made him famous and maybe kind of fucked up his career a little bit afterwards. But he was very challenging because he wanted to make sure this kid wasn't just putting together a bunch of cool shots, but trying to do what was best cinematically to tell the story. And so he would constantly challenge me. I would say something like, we don't want to go into the world of camp. And then he would stop and say, wait, camp? What do you mean by camp? And literally 45 minutes would go by discussing camp while we're trying to set up the next shot. So one example in particular was, we were doing a scene that required him, he's talking to CCH Pounder, who has a talk radio show, and they're talking about the subject of matricide, and he calls into the show. So at one point while he's talking to the radio audience, he slams a butcher knife into a butcher block in anger, and it's a big emotional moment. And we're rehearsing it, and we come to that part, and he says, "Now, Mick, this butcher knife, don't you think it's old and hoary and done to death and all of this?" And trying to leaven the mood a little bit, I just said, "Well, I kind of like it." So he just went on and on about it, and there's a crew standing around waiting to set up to shoot this scene. And Tony is literally, it's that magic 45-minute mark that he took to discuss it before I said, "Tony, let's take this off the set. Let the crew set it up as if we were doing that and figure out something together that makes us both happy." So we came up with something, and instead of slamming the knife into the butcher block, he gets so upset he picks up an apple from the fruit bowl and twists it in half into 2 pieces. And it's a nice little bit of business, and we were both happy with it. It turned out really well. But it was just that testing that I went through constantly. And am I glad I directed the movie? Absolutely. I love the movie, and I loved working with him, but it was very challenging. The punchline is, when we finished the film, came back from Florida where we shot it, to Hollywood to show him the movie in the Alfred Hitchcock Theater at Universal Studios. He loved it. So all of that work was not only worth it because we made a good movie, but it was worth it because I won him over. And that he loved the movie. He went on and on about it to an embarrassing length. And even said, "It's so much better than mine. It's the best of the sequels. I'm so happy with it. And you did such a good job." And it was embarrassing. And literally after 10 minutes, I had to stop him and say, "I really appreciate it, Tony, and I love you, but that's enough. My face is burning." And anyway, so that's a little bit of insight into Anthony Perkins and Norman Bates. And I wish I were there with you. And Reece, I'll see you soon. And enjoy the movie. It's really terrific.
Lovely skin.
Yeah.
Quite a bonnet as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Did
Well,
Hocus Pocus, of course.
and critters too.
Yeah, and Chris.
I don't know who played it.
Oh, well, maybe next.
Maybe that could be nice,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. So, but no, thank you for arranging that. What a nice thing, and to have
Yes,
that
yes.
opportunity. I mean, Anthony Perkins is obviously a good actor, but to tell him that that was his favourite of the sequels, I feel maybe overstretching slightly. If you've seen Psycho 4, I'm guessing probably, well, the amount of you haven't seen Psycho 2 is probably quite a small number. But, I think you've made the right choice going to Psycho 2 rather than 3 or 4, to be truthful. Anything more we need to talk about?
No, I think we should watch it.
Well,
Sick of talking.
well, let's watch the film now. Thank you for choosing it. A big thank you to Reece Shearsmith.